guys, Tori here from Overlook Horizon. Good afternoon or good day to wherever you're from. This is the Axiom-1 Splashdown event. So if you recall, we were live about like 2 weeks ago or something like that, where we watched the Axiom-1 mission, the first all-private mission of astronauts to the International Space Station, flying aboard the Crew Dragon capsule from SpaceX. They launched way back a couple of weeks ago now, and now they're coming back. They're ready to come home and splash down today. Hopefully, it sounds like they're going to target the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Jacksonville, Florida today. And so figured we'd jump on here, take a watch, and see the action of the Crew Dragon capsule coming back and splashing down. So hello to everybody. We'll kind of go through what we're going to expect here for today, but we have about an hour until splashdown, so we got a little bit of time, but things kind of happen quickly, beginning about at about the 1 hour mark. So the first big event that's going to happen coming up is going to be trunk jettison. That is the back of the Crew Dragon capsule, right? So the Crew Dragon capsule looks something like this right now. Let's see, will it focus on this, or is it going to stay on my face? There you go. So Crew Dragon capsule looks something like this right now, where you have the capsule up on top, and then you have the trunk in the back there. Boy, my camera doesn't like this. It really wants to focus on my face. But the capsule is going to come back. The trunk will not. So they don't recover the trunk. The trunk is going to burn up in the atmosphere, but the capsule obviously is going to come back. So it's not a completely fully reusable system as far as the capsule and trunk is concerned. But yeah, the first thing that's going to happen is that trunk jettison, and then they will. Then they're going to do the deorbit burn, right? So
it's going to deorbit.
Right? It's going to come back and deorbit. And in order to do that, they're going to use the thrusters in the nose cone, which is kind of a weird thing, right? There are four, my model doesn't open here, but there are four thruster, let's see, focus. In the nose cone, there are four thrusters, or underneath the nose cone, I should say. There are four thruster pods there, and those will provide the main thrust for the deorbit burn. The weird thing is, if you recall, right, so here's our hatch. Let's see, focus on this. Focus, please. Focus. Focus, there. So if you can see our hatch there, right? So they go in the side hatch when they load it up for launch, and they sit right there in the seats. They kind of recline up on their back. Well, those thrusters are going to thrust out from the top there, the nose cone, and it kind of actually throws you forward into your seat, right? Or into your restraints, your seat belts. What am I trying to say? It throws you forward into your seat belts. So, and that lasts for 10 to 15 minutes or so, where they're kind of thrown forward in their seat belt, and it's not that drastic, right? They're pretty strapped in, but it's just kind of a weird sensation where you're pushed forward into your restraints, your harness there, and you just kind of hold that position while you're waiting for that deorbit burn to happen.
It's going to deorbit.
And the whole, this is coming from being relatively weightless for a very long time, not experiencing kind of that acceleration, that gravity environment. They're still not really in gravity, but you get those big thruster movements. They got to kind of endure that. It's not super taxing on their bodies, but just a weird sensation, right? It's like slamming on the brakes in your car and then holding that for more than 10 minutes. Just a weird sensation. So yeah, buckle up, as Anita says. Fasten your seatbelts. So yeah, that'll be that's kind of the first operations that we'll see is trunk jettison, the deorbit burn.
It's gonna deorbit.
Then once that burn's completed, then they close up the nose cone. They're gonna latch that back into place so that that doesn't get damaged. It doesn't tear off the capsule on the way in. So they'll do that. They'll kind of orient the capsule. My model doesn't separate, so I can't do this, but they'll orient the capsule so they come in heat shield first. Obviously, that'll be kind of a good thing. We'll have a blackout period, just like back in the space shuttle days, the Apollo days, as they're coming through re-entry. You get that capsule just screaming into the atmosphere, and as it's doing that, the air molecules are heating up, they're piling up, they're getting in the way of the capsule. That's why we need the heat shield. But then that plasma material kind of surrounds the capsule, and you can't get any radio communication in or out through that. Occasionally, during some of the early or the late stages, you can get, I don't know why, but it seems like backwards is the thing, but you can get radio communications back to space, right, through the TDRS network. But during the height of that re-entry corridor there, when you have all that plasma surrounding the capsule, you can't really get any radio communications to or from the capsule. So we get a blackout period. And then after that, things happen real quickly. You get drogue chute deployment, mains deploy, splashdown, and we'll have the fast boats go in, recover them. They're supposed to, for the NASA astronauts, they're supposed to get them out within 1 hour of splashdown. We've seen some of the early ones were like an hour and 15 minutes, but lately it's been more like 40 minutes or so after splashdown that they pull them out of the capsule and they're good to go. So yeah, that's kind of the plan for today, right? Sounds pretty decent. Let me check it. I'll show you a couple of things here in just a second, but let me check in with some people and we'll see where everybody's from, what everybody's doing. Cram says private boat party again. Hopefully not. A reference to the Demo 2 splashdown with Bob and Doug, where we had a whole bunch of just recreational boaters that surrounded the capsule and wanted to see what was up. Hopefully we don't have that again. We don't want to see that again. It's dangerous for the boaters. It's also, kind of a pain for the recovery crew to have to work around them. But remember, a lot of people forget, I've mentioned it before, that it's dangerous for those recreational boaters. And people are like, oh, it's not dangerous. Why would it be dangerous? During re-entry, they're still using these thruster pods, right? The little ones, not the big Super Draco engines, the abort engines, not those, but the thruster pods. They're still using those to maintain attitude during re-entry. And those are monomethylhydrazine and nitrogen tetroxide. It's toxic is the important part, right? So you don't want to be around that. So those are being used during the descent. And after they splash down, you can get some of those vapors, still in the vicinity of the capsule and, kind of still clearing up a little bit. And that's very, very toxic to humans. That is not something you want to be on. So as the fast boat approaches, one of the very first things they do is they're measuring for that monomethylhydrazine and nitrogen tetroxide. So they're measuring for that, trying to see if they're, what the amounts are that are in the area. Most of the time, it's pretty well dissipated, but if you recall, back on Demo 2, we had to delay the getting the astronauts out because the levels were higher than they considered safe, so they didn't want to take the astronauts out. Then actually, the recovery crew was wearing like gas masks around the capsule as they were trying to, clear that up. So they and that was when the recreational boaters were around. So you had that let me say it again, monomethylhydrazine and nitrogen tetroxide. Whew. I'm getting better at it. You see, I got that one. Anyways, so yeah, you don't want to be around it, right? So we want to have a recreational boat party today. Don't you love those words, says Virginia. Yeah, it's as Mr. Simon Frost says over on Twitch, that's a mouthful to say. There's a lot in that. Let's see. Check in with a couple other people and see what everybody's doing. A great way to start the day, says Timeless Jewel by Deborah. Felt like Axiom was becoming a 3-hour tour. Yeah, they were up there for a while, right? So they were. What was I can't remember what the original date was. They were supposed to come back. It was like the 16th or something like that. Right? So they've been up there for a while. They've had some bad weather. They kept pushing it back. But they definitely got their money's worth, that's for sure. Steven Perez, hey, thanks for the super chat, Steven. Really appreciate that. Says, always great to see you live. Still handsome also. You're the man. Well, thank you, Steven. I appreciate that. Now you got me flustered. So thanks for that, and I appreciate it. Yeah, the whole trunk will burn up. A couple people asking about the trunk. Yeah, the trunk is not recoverable, so that will burn up. As
it's gonna deorbitate.
Right. It's gonna deorbit, but it's just not recoverable. It's gonna burn up in the atmosphere. And that is actually kind of interesting because if you recall from the timeline, we should actually be at trunk jettison pretty much now. They are. We could switch over to this so we can see what's happening here, or maybe I'll go down to a little tiny view here, or maybe this view. I don't know. Let's just move me all around the screen. If you recall, the trunk is jettisoned before the deorbit burn, right? So
it's gonna deorbitate.
It will deorbit, but it actually takes some time because the trunk is still in orbit, a relatively stable but low orbit. So it's that orbit will decay relatively quickly, but not like the crew capsule, which is coming down, minutes after that deorbit burn. The trunk actually kind of hangs out up there for a little while. It will deorbit eventually, but it actually hangs out. It's still in a relatively stable-ish orbit, just very low orbit. So we're let's see. We need some volume. Where's my volume? Volume up.
The Axiom-1 crew is flying in today.
All right, well, we're going to check in with that while they're talking here right now. I'm going to be quiet here in a little bit so we can listen in. But I do want to mention a couple of other things before we get there. So, as I had mentioned, or maybe, did I mention this? I don't know if I mentioned this. There are a couple of recovery zones for the Crew Dragon capsule, right? So we've got Pensacola. We've seen a couple of splashdowns over there. We've got Panama City, Tallahassee, Tampa, Jacksonville, way up there. I can't reach that far with the green screen here, but Jacksonville, way up in the corner. That's where we're targeting today. Then we've got Daytona, and then Cape North, which is pretty much right off of Cape Canaveral there. That's the shortest one. I think that was where Inspiration 4 splashed down, right? But those are our Dragon recovery zones. Those are all the possible recoveries, and I think the primary today is Jacksonville, with the backups being over here in the Gulf Coast. And so Jacksonville is the target here. I did see, I don't remember who asked it, so sorry I can't call you out by name, but somebody did ask if there would be a sonic boom. And yes, there would be, as it's coming back to Earth. The question is always, can you hear it? And with it being a Jacksonville recovery, meaning it's going to fly over Florida to get to Jacksonville, right? Let's see. Let's check in on our track. Where's my track here? So this is where Axiom, or I guess it's going to kind of miss Florida a little bit. So here's our track that we're seeing here today. Axiom-1 is currently out here, right in the, what is this? Still the Indian Ocean here. It's hard to tell because it's kind of dark out. But here's Axiom-1 right now. It's coming up over the north like this. It's going to come in across over the U.S. and a little bit of Canada here, and splash down up here in the Jacksonville area. So that's kind of the track we're taking here. So we've seen sometimes they come from like the southwest here. This is we're expecting it to come from the northwest this time around. So yeah, it is possible to hear the sonic booms if you're in, or the sonic boom if you're in the area. Yeah, I guess just keep in mind what the track is. Obviously, if the closer you are to the track, the better. And this is, right now it shows the track kind of way out here. This track line is going to move in a little bit closer to Florida. It's actually not the track line that's moving, it's Florida that's moving. Remember, the Earth is rotating, so the Earth is going to rotate underneath the track there. So as they come up here, within the hour here, Florida is going to get a little bit closer to that track there. So also keep that in mind. This is the current path where it is right now, but the whole planet is going to rotate underneath that. So this track is going to be a little more towards the south as time goes on here.
To geek out on the switches, that was overwhelming, But then we got.
Let's see. So there's our
the Dragon training capsule. After
There's
launch.
our crew right there in the capsule. So they're all suited up right now. I kind of leave the broadcast volume down here for a minute while we continue to talk a little bit.
Now there's a view once again inside.
Let's see, what view? I'm trying to switch to...
Undocked from the International Space Station.
Let's see. Nope, wrong one. This one. Nope, not even that one. This one. Or this one. I don't know. I got so many views I can push. This is the one I wanted to go with.
Outside Jacksonville is our primary launch site today.
What's Jeff Walsma over on Facebook wants to know what's going to happen to the capsule after they land. Good question. So after they land, they're going to hoist them up onto the recovery vessel, and they'll pull the crew out within an hour, probably hopefully around like 40 minutes or so, half hour, 40 minutes. That would be great. And but this is going to get reused. This capsule has already been reused. So this is actually the third flight for this capsule. Yeah, they will. This will get reused. This is the third mission for this. It'll continue on and do some more. So we are in the deorbit burn right now.
It's gonna deorbit.
Right, so we're in the deorbit burn right now, using the thrusters on the nose cone to slow down. So it's pointed in the direction it's traveling. I guess maybe we'll do it this way. It's pointed this way, firing the engines this way to slow down. Then it's already jettisoned the trunk, so the trunk is gone. It's gonna slow down, and then after that's done, they're gonna close the nose cone and then flip around this way to come in heat shield first. So that's the plan for today.
Burn finishes.
So this deorbit burn right now
It's gonna deorbit.
is gonna last until about, it's still got another about 10 minutes or so to go. So it's been going for about, it's about a 15-ish, a little less than 15-minute deorbit burn. Let's see. Oh, I missed a super chat from Managard. Managard, one of our regulars, been around for a long time. Managard says, "Hello, Tori. I'm on vacation at my mom's place in Florida, and it's her birthday. She says hi." Well, hello, Managard. It's Managard's mother, and happy birthday to you. Thanks for the super chat. Thank you for supporting the channel, being around for so long, and I'm glad this is a great. I think this is a great birthday present. Watching astronauts splash down in the ocean. That's pretty cool, right? So happy birthday, Mama Managard.
Splashdown on either side of the Florida Panhandle. We have two identical and fully equipped recovery vessels ready to support, one in the Gulf of Mexico and the other in the Atlantic Ocean.
Right, and in the lead up to today, SpaceX has selected primary and alternate splashdown locations off the coast of Florida, like Kate was mentioning. The selection process takes into account a lot of different variables, including what landing sites are available and which have favorable weather. Like you mentioned earlier, Kate, high winds, some rain, it's all been a challenge. But that's why we have redundancies, right? So, today our primary landing site gets the crew home off the coast of Jacksonville, Florida. And for return, we'll be looking at a number of weather items. Some of the obvious ones are no rain or chance of lightning in the recovery zone, both for the safety of the crew inside the capsule and also the recovery teams on the water that assist crew. So we're also looking for wind speeds less than 15 feet per second or about only 10 miles per hour and relatively calm seas. So it's a pretty precise place for you to splash down in. So that we can safely execute recovery operations, which includes landing a helicopter on the recovery ship to fly our crew back to shore.
Yeah, so with all those conditions and even having 7 recovery sites to choose from, you can imagine that the teams have been doing a lot of evaluations over the last few days, trying to bring the crew home safely and quickly, but ultimately just day after day making the call that the weather was not playing along. So once again, the weather conditions today look really good. The term I like to use is super go. Super go. For these operations, SpaceX
super go.
Coordinates,
We should also check. Why don't we check on our weather here? We'll jump over to our weather map here. We could check on our weather here real quick. So a couple things they're going to check on. So they're going to land up here in the Jacksonville area. It's not too far off the coast, but they're looking at one of the big things they look at is wind. Right, so once they open the parachutes, this is kind of the downside about a parachute landing. is once you open the parachutes, now you're kind of left up to the wind for horizontal control, right? So you're not firing your thrusters anymore. You open the parachutes, and you don't really want to come in with a whole lot of horizontal speed, right? You're gonna hit the water, you tip over, you can get a lot of side loading basically on the vehicle. You don't really want that. So you want relatively light winds. I think they look for 10 miles an hour or less. And when you're out at the ocean, like, you can get some pretty high winds. Like, you come out here, you're looking at 30-mile-per-hour winds. We're kind of just poking around the middle of the ocean. You got 40-mile-an-hour winds. So you can get some high winds there out in the middle of the ocean, but they're pretty close to shore. And whoa. And we're looking at, well, not over there. Here we go. We're looking at about 5 miles an hour is our wind. So what's that? About 6 to 8 kilometers per hour, and we'll even do it in knots. It's about 4 or 5 knots. So right in that range. So we're pretty light winds here today. Not too bad on the wind front. Obviously, we're not going to want to see like thunderstorms or things like that. Look at our radar. We got nothing on the radar. Completely clear. It's looking great. Satellites. There's no clouds around. You know, just a couple of little tiny wispy clouds here. So almost nothing around for cloud cover. So winds looking great. Everything's looking pretty great. The other thing you'd look at is going to be your wave height, and we're looking at 3 to 4 foot waves here, which is, what's that, 1 to 1.5, not even 1.5, 0.789 to 1.3 meters wave height. So yeah, we're pretty low, and as Kate Tice mentioned on the broadcast, they're super go for the weather, meaning the weather is fantastic. Awesome weather, great day for splashdown here. So we're looking good. Hey, Lim sent over a super chat. Thanks, Lim. Thanks for supporting. I really appreciate that. Says, hello, Tori. Well, hello to you, Lim. Thank you very much. Lim, Lim is a 19-month channel member. Holy smokes, 19 months. Well, thank you, Lim. Appreciate that. Thanks for always supporting the channel. 19 months Lim's been a channel member. Let's see. Let's go back. We'll grab a couple of comments here while we're waiting for the deorbit to burn. Deorberate to complete. I love the Tory weather analysis, especially high altitude at launches. Yeah, we don't have to, well, I mean, obviously you do have to worry about upper level winds a little bit here today. You don't want to have you don't want to have crazy upper level winds, but they're not nearly as concerning for a capsule recovery as they are for a launch, right? So the big concern, I don't have my Falcon 9, but I do have my trusty Starship. Big concern for those upper level winds is you get wind when you get a big long vertical vehicle, right? The wind is going to push the vehicle this way. The engines are going to try to push the vehicle. And my Starship is in pieces. Oh no! Well, it's not broken. It's just magnetic. And I caught a whole bunch of pieces. Oh, my Starship! It'll go back together. Okay, well, I'm glad that I had that on small camera view instead of big camera view, because then y'all would take screenshots of that. Anyways, yeah. That just had an SN8 moment. Where'd the rest of it go? I lost. Oh, my nose cone is over here. It really is like SN8. I don't even know what order these go in. Does this one go here? I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to like reassemble this somehow. Looks, yeah, something like that, and like, oh, yep, like this. All our piping is askew. Maybe this. Oh, I think it goes this way. Something. Let's full screen this and you guys can watch me all struggle. Because why not have some entertainment while Oh, one of my magnets fell out. Two of my magnets fell out. Oh, I lost one of the magnets. Well, that's a problem. Well, I don't know. I'm missing pieces. Huh. Okay. Well. I don't know what I did. I think this goes on the bottom. Does this go here? Where does this go? I don't know. I broke it. Well, we'll have to put that together later. I don't know. What was I saying? What? Talking about upper level winds. Well, that's what would happen if you have... Oh, the piping is askew. If you have strong upper level winds, yeah, that's what happens, basically. So we'll, yeah, it was, Eytan says, we'll duct tape that back together. That'll buff out, and, it'll be fine. I just gotta figure out what order all those pieces go in. So, yeah, we'll figure that out, another time. So, yep, that's a good demonstration. Thanks to whoever asked that question, and, thanks for destroying my Starship model. Because it clearly wasn't my fault. Anyways, yeah, note to self, fix Starship model. Yep, yeah, we'll have to reassemble that. Okay. So, we'll go back to something. I don't know. Now I'm all flustered. Get some Gorilla Glue, yeah. Well, it's supposed to come apart, right? So the idea, like, it's all magnets, which, I mean, they're not super strong, but they usually hold pretty well. But they're all magnets so that, let's see, this has got to go here, because that goes down there like that. So that's got to be this way. I know I said I was going to assemble this later, but this is going to drive me crazy if I can't figure it out. This has got to go up here to there, maybe? No. That can't be right. That means that this has got to be... Let's see. We'll have everybody just watch Tori struggle with putting the Starship together. Because that'll be fun. I don't know which way this goes. This is our liquid oxygen pipe that's in here. Well, there's another pipe that goes up there like that. I don't know. This is, what is this? This has got to be, oh no, this has got to go down here because this is like, this is part of our fins. So this has got to be down here. Get this out of here. This is entertainment, isn't it? Isn't this what you tune in for? Hold on, bear with me. Look at this goes here because this is the top of the fins. So this goes here, and it goes this way. There. All right, that much I know. We got this part together. Then we gotta have our bulkhead, right? That's gotta go here-ish. No. This to go this way? I don't know what that piece is. Something in there bouncing around. That's probably good. That's probably just extra. Let's see, this goes here. Oh, there we go. All right, now we're getting somewhere. And this must go here. Or this way. This way? Or this way? We'll make it a short Starship. I only have one extra piece. I'm sure it's optional. Okay, good enough. There, we have a short Starship. We'll fix the rest later. There you go, West Quist Send over a $5 super chat towards a new model. Thanks, Wes. Appreciate it. You would make a great engineer. Yeah, here's the problem. I am an engineer. Software engineer, though. See, I don't do hardware, right? Isn't that the typical stereotype of software engineers? When it comes to hardware, I don't know what I'm doing. But software-wise, I got that. But, yeah, this has got to go... Oh. Oh, that's a little crooked. Oh, there. Ta-da! It's back together. Okay, now, okay, just set it over here. Yep, okay. We're doing no more Starship demonstrations today. Okay, well, that was just a minor interruption. Okay, so our deorbit burn should be completed at that point. What a way to... actually, we should be completing it soon. Did we actually... so, just one other thing to keep in mind today. My timeline is rough estimates. Right, so they don't really publish an exact timeline for that. So these will be rough estimates, and then we're going to have to adjust as we get a little bit closer. So we'll adjust the timing as we get a little bit closer, but yeah, here we go. So I've got confirmation. SpaceX confirmed a nominal deorbit burn. Yeah, they are now committed to re-entry. They're coming back one way or another.
It's gonna deorbit.
Indeed, it's gonna deorbit. They're coming back. They have no option to stay in space now. So now they're committed and they're coming back. Put it in a glass case. Yeah.
That is the last physical change to the capsule prior to splashdown.
We missed the astronauts coming back to watch the Starship rebuild. Yeah, all right, I'm gonna leave that alone here for now. Let's check in. So actually here, before we do that, just because I see it coming up on the screen here, so the next, they're gonna reorient the vehicle, so they're coming in heat shield first. Remember, they were coming in nose first, so they could do that deorbit burn. They're going to reorient to be heat shield first, close the nose cone. Actually, they close the nose cone first, I believe, and then reorient back the other direction, and then we're going to get communications blackout. So that's coming up. So there, I just got confirmation. SpaceX reporting the nose cone is closed. So that was opened. That opens right after orbital insertion. So that's been open the entire time since back on April 8th, and now it is closed, and it is ready to come back. So yeah, nose cone has been successfully closed. Underneath that nose cone, they also have like your navigation sensors, those thrusters that I mentioned. They're called the bulkhead thrusters that do that deorbit burn. So those are all covered up now, and now they should looks like they're going to encounter the upper atmosphere at 12:54, which is about 18 minutes from now. So let me see, what's my timeline say here now? I got entry attitude will be at 12:50, communication blackout at 12:53 it says. So yeah, so I think we're about maybe 1 minute off. Not too far, actually. We're still pretty close to on time for our timeline here. Maybe we'll just bump this back just a tiny bit. I think it's a little closer to like this. So we're going to keep an eye on it, or we'll be kind of adjusting the timeline the whole way. So do they feel like they're falling all the way down? Is it like skydiving in a pod? No, actually, I think because they're slowing down so much, they're going to feel the deceleration. Right, so during skydiving, I mean, I'm sure there's, they get some weird sensations, when they're under parachute or as they've kind of reduced the bulk of their speed. But a lot of it is they're feeling deceleration, right? So they're going to be kind of pushed back into their seat. So they're gonna feel those G's coming back in. Not a ton of G's. You know, they're talking 3 to 4 G's as they're coming back into the atmosphere. So that's what they're gonna be feeling mostly. Is it feels like somebody slammed on the brakes very hard and they're stuck that way for minutes. So yeah, that's kind of the feeling. And then once they get under parachute, you know, maybe you can get a little more sensations of kind of rocking in the wind a little bit. But yeah, the bulk of the re-entry, especially at the beginning, they're slowing down real fast, right? They're going from that deorbit burn doesn't actually slow them down a whole bunch, right? So they're still way over here. They don't have to change the orbital parameters that much to ensure that it comes back, right? So they only have to slow down just a little bit, and then the bulk of the slowing down comes from the atmosphere. So they slow down just a tiny bit, and that makes sure that they come back. They start hitting the atmosphere starts slowing them down, and then the bulk of the slowing down is from the atmosphere. So yeah, that's the majority of what they're feeling. Let's see. Graham said, someone asked about how they flip the Dragon around. Can you explain that more in detail than my answer? Yeah, so they have a whole bunch of thruster pods, right? You're not going to see them on my... Keep choosing the wrong... Let's see if you can... Can I make it so you can see them? So right here by my index finger, you can't... Let's see, turn it this way. I can't get it to show big and lit up at the same time. Right by my index finger... There's tiny little pods, not the one that my index finger is touching. That's the Super Draco engine. But right next to it, you can see these little holes. Those are the regular Draco thruster pods. There's a whole bunch of clusters. There's like 4 clusters on the side. There's 2 more up towards the top of the nose cone, and then there's some under the nose cone. But they use those Draco thrusters to flip it around. It doesn't really take that much. But that's what they use for maneuvering while they're in space, is those Draco thrusters. Not to be confused with the Super Draco engines. That's these 4 big carve-outs or jut-outs here in the capsule. Those are the Super Draco abort engines, or abort rockets, abort motors.
I have no notable updates to vehicle status and recovery team status. Weather is still looking great, with no significant change to the numbers I called up previously. I don't believe you have the blackout start and end times, so I have those available for you when ready to copy.
Ready to copy.
All right, blackout start is predicted at 16:53:04, and blackout end at 16:59:40. I'll copy.
I copy start 165304 and end 165940.
Good copy.
All right, so we got an update on our blackout period, which actually...
And that is all I am tracking for you guys. Let me know once you guys have visors down, restraints tight, and tablets secured later in the timeline.
We will do so. Thanks, sir.
All right, there. So communication with our Axiom.
So I'm going to turn Kate down. So, yeah, so we've got our blackout periods. It looks like actually I was pretty close to correct the first time around, so I switched my timeline back to where it was. Yeah, the blackout period is going to start at 12:53. And ends at 12:59. This is Eastern time. Yeah, it's we're about only 11 minutes away from the start of blackout. So we're it looks like we're pretty well on time here for the timeline. Let's see. So we've got good weather and sea conditions in the ocean, so that's good. Why deorbit burn, then close the nose cone? What if something happened? Well, they use the thrusters that are under the nose cone to do the deorbit burn. So that's what they have to leave it open for the deorbit burn. The nose cone closes afterwards because they need those thrusters to do it. The nice thing is if for some reason that nose cone doesn't close, it's not really a danger. I mean, that can rip off the vehicle, and because it's at it's at the end of the train, it could rip off the vehicle. I mean, your thrusters would have to work a little overtime to make sure it doesn't impact your trajectory that much. But yeah, it could rip off the vehicle and not do a whole ton of damage. Obviously, we don't want that to happen, but yeah, so that is a possibility. As maybe for some reason the nose cone doesn't close and lock. It's not the end of the world if it doesn't close and lock. Still wouldn't be ideal, but I don't think it's going to be a disaster. There was another question that I saw.
Attributes of the Axiom Mission has been the ability for astronauts to curate their own research portfolios in collaboration with leading institutions.
Oh, that's it. Gloria asks, why is there a sonic boom coming back but not going up? There actually is a sonic boom going up. We just rarely hear it. That's because sonic booms generally propagate in the direction of travel. And so if you think about it, when you launch a rocket, it's going up and away from you out to sea. So we generally just don't hear the sonic booms because they propagate in the direction of travel. So a rocket coming back when the Falcon 9 comes back and does like an RTLS landing, as it's coming back, like we hear it because it's traveling back towards land. Same thing with the Dragon capsule. As it's coming back towards you, you're going to hear it propagating in the direction that it's traveling in. So there's the difference. That's why you don't really hear a sonic boom on the way out. Not to mention there's a rocket going on, which is kind of loud. If you've ever attended a rocket launch, it's pretty loud. So it's hard to hear much of anything else that's going on. Even if for some reason you could hear the sonic boom, it's going to be really hard to hear it over the roar of the rockets. I mean, most of the time you can't even talk to the person next to you sometimes. So
carried out research activities on behalf of several Israeli innovators. The Ramon Foundation.
Let's see. Voids the warranty if you rip off the nose cone. Yeah, right.
Ministry of Innovation, Science.
Think we'll be able to hear the boom at the Georgia-North Carolina border. That might be a little far away. So if we see our travel path here, our trajectory, so right, they're coming down over here. You might, let's see, I don't know where, I wish there were some state lines on here. The Georgia-North Carolina border. Let's see, does this, so you're talking like way up here? I don't know, I think it might be tough to hear it from there. Maybe there's very remote possibility, but I think it'll be pretty tough because you're probably gonna break the sound barrier. They're probably going to be closer to like this region here when that happens. So I think this area is probably your best chance, and actually it's going to be a little further south than this. It's probably more like this area that's your best chance, somewhere in this region here. So if you're in the Jacksonville area, maybe, what's this, like Brunswick, Waycross, Jessup, Douglas, Hinesville. Maybe that area might be your best chance. If you're in, like, Jacksonville area, too, like, you want to be kind of downstream of the trajectory. So what time would the sonic boom occur? It's going to be pretty close to the re-entry period, right? So we're landing at 1:06 p.m. It's going to be somewhere around, after entry attitude, so between 12:55 and 1 o'clock, somewhere in that region would be your best chance to hear it. So Weatherman said people in Atlanta might be able to hear it. Suppose, let's see, where's Atlanta?
The International Space Station is really an amazing engineering.
Oh, Atlanta's kind of far away, but yeah, maybe. I guess maybe there's a shot that you might hear it. I don't know. That's kind of, I mean, sonic. I'm not an expert on sonic booms. I mean, it seems kind of far away from me, but I suppose maybe. Let's see. So we're waiting here now. Right now we're kind of just waiting, right? So they did the deorbit burn. It's coming over, just about to get to the coast, west coast of Canada. We're only about 4 minutes away. 4 minutes away. 5 minutes away. No, sorry, I'm trying to do math while I'm streaming. Only about 5 minutes away from that entry interface in the blackout period. So at this point, we're good to go. Now we're looks like so the crew has closed the visors. Their straps have been tightened. They're preparing for that re-entry here now. They're going to come in, obviously heat shield first. They're kind of in a reclined position, so they're going to be, from the astronaut's perspective, they're going to be going in back first. And yeah, looks like we're right on track. Sorry, I'm just looking at my updates here. So, how many launches have I attended in person? I have attended 3 launches in person. Is that right? Yeah, 3 launches in person. I was at an Atlas V launch and 2 SpaceX launches. One was the TESS, the Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellites. That was kind of like, that was like my big first. That was technically the second launch I attended, but that was like the big first one because I was super close for that. I can't remember what the Atlas one was that I saw. I saw that from a distance. I was at Jetty Park for that. And then what was the other one? The CRS 18. I can't remember which number it was, but yeah, those are the 3 I was at.
They are in their seats. Their suits are on. Their visors are down, and they are about 5 minutes away from LOS, or loss of signal. They are basically preparing to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. So they undocked from the International Space Station yesterday at 9:10 p.m. Eastern. The Dragon capsule performed a couple of maneuvers to basically line everything up in preparation for re-entry. We jettisoned the Dragon trunk to expose the heat shield, and we closed the nose cone after performing a deorbit burn, which was the final burn. That's the burn that locked us in, committed us to Splashdown today. So once that burn was concluded, we shut the nose cone, locked it up, and now the crew is just waiting to come back home.
Exactly right. So we've got about, it's looking like 16, 17 minutes until splashdown. That's correct?
Yeah.
So crew has had a long time on orbit. Originally they were supposed to have 10 days. They've got 15 days on the ISS, 17 in full spaceflight orbit. You mentioned yesterday they undocked at 1:10 GMT, and they had about, 16 hours, 16-hour travel time. So, they got a few extra orbits in there as well.
Yeah.
Got a whole extra week in space.
Exactly right. But they've been making the most of it. They went into this mission with a huge suite of research on their plate, and I think that extra added opportunity that extra time, just highlighted, if we have opportunities up there, we want to learn more, right? We just saw in the video, what we're trying to learn from this mission really is, how do we all work together to continue this amazing experiment that has been sustained low Earth orbit for 20 plus years? One of my favorite things at Mission Control at Johnson Space Center is the ISS mission elapsed time. And you go and you see that, and it dawns on you how long that vehicle has been up there operating. We want to continue that. Everybody working in private spaceflight wants to continue that and everything that we benefit from. So seeing that video, us talking about the vehicle coming home, seeing the multiple patches inside the Dragon today, it's all part of that story.
Yeah.
It's all part of that mission. So even if that mission is 10 days or 15, we get a lot out of it, and we learn a lot from it. So
yeah. Now, for those of you that have just joined us or might not be familiar with, what the Axiom crew has been up to, they did launch on, when was that? April 8th. The mission was initially intended to be an 8-day mission. It ended up being 15 days.
Right.
So if you 15 days on station, total of 17 days on orbit. Unfortunately, the weather just wasn't willing to play nice with us around Florida. As we mentioned before, we have 7 recovery options around Florida, both on the Gulf side and the Atlantic side. And we take into account lots of different things, lightning possibility, precipitation levels, wave height, wind speeds, all kinds of things to make sure that the crew as well as the recovery teams are safe for the operations. And unfortunately, we just haven't been able to pull that off for the last week, even with those 7 options, those 7 locations. So fortunately, as I mentioned before, we are fully committed to Splashdown, having performed that final deorbit burn. We are intending to splash down off the coast of Florida on the Atlantic side.
We should
Jacksonville.
We should now be in communication blackout. Just FYI.
We are super go with.
I'm kind of turning Kate down a little bit. We should be in communication blackout. We're not going to see a ton of views. So we're not really going to hear much from the crew. Also, keep in mind, it takes a while to get the very first pictures when we see the crew. So a lot of time we'll see those hopefully right around maybe just after the end of blackout. We might see the first high altitude tracking images. So we're not going to see photos of the capsule until maybe around the 6-minute mark on the countdown there, right? So my countdown is counting down to Splashdown. So we're gonna coming up on it now. Only 11 minutes to go until Splashdown. So we're pretty close. Again, here let's take a peek in at where we are. Look at how fast they're coming across, right? So this trajectory it's not going to update in real time. So this is just going to keep on thinking that it's in orbit. But right about here over the central U.S. here, coming in for this Jacksonville landing. You can see now Florida has rotated right up underneath that, just about underneath that track, and gets us right to our Jacksonville landing site. Remember, we got a couple different landing sites here. Jacksonville is the one that we're targeting, which is just north of the Florida border, off the coast there. So we're coming up on it. Weather looking great. We got super low winds here. These are our upper level winds. Let's go back to ground level winds. Super low, great, no precipitation. We're in good shape here. So now they're just bringing it in. We'll get some, hopefully get some views from the from our tracking planes that are in the area. Do I have? See if I have a map of what tracking planes are there. Do we have a map for that? Let's see if we can find our tracking planes that are in the area. I don't know if we're going to see them. You know what? Actually, might even have something better. Let me see. See, now that I have all these pilot resources. Here you go. Let's look at, so here, this is from my 4-flight planning system here. So here's our, you can see our exact landing spot. So this is the TFR that's in place, where planes are not allowed to fly. And then I was looking to see, these are like American Airlines. There is a plane out here at 45,000. What is that? That's because that's pretty high for a that's just a jet. I was looking to see if maybe there's like a NASA tracking plane out there, but I don't see one anywhere. But that's our TFR, temporary flight restriction of where they have to stay out of. So you can see that off the coast of Florida, here's the Jacksonville. Actually, you can't see it because my head's in the way. Here's the Jacksonville Airport, Class C airport. So there's that's where the TFR is located out there. That's for the re-entry corridor there. So that's where we're waiting for the crew to come back here. And I still see I don't see any planes in the area, which is kind of surprising to me. I was expecting maybe, I know it's not a NASA mission, but I was expecting maybe a NASA. So maybe, I guess the question would be, will we have any sort of...
And then once they splash down, there it's ground teams. Ground teams are really carrying...
Let's see, let's pull this up here. Will we have any sort of high or upper level imagery as it's coming back in? Because I don't see... It's pretty clear out here, and I don't see a plane. Let's see. Let's go back to let's go back to map view here. Anybody see a plane on the map? I don't see one. Maybe we got a bunch of just commercial planes. Oh, look at that. There. Question answered. There it is. All right. Well, there, and that's right before. So they're actually still in communications blackout.
Right, that was one of the critical roles earlier at beginning acquisition.
Dragon SpaceX comm check.
We're waiting to see if we get comms back.
Loud and clear, Sarah. Cruise doing fine.
There we go.
Copy that. Great to hear from you.
Right on time, about 10 seconds early here.
All right, there we heard the voice of Commander MLA Michael López-Alegría. They're just confirming that the crew, they're doing good.
Right on schedule, too.
Yeah. As we mentioned before, the external temperature of the capsule is about 3,500 degrees as it, makes its way through the Earth's atmosphere, but the crew, they're comfortable inside.
Dragon, you can expect automated parachute deploy at standard altitude.
Standard altitude, that's good.
Copy that, sir.
All right, so just a heads up there to the crew that they can expect to feel those initial drogue parachutes deploy.
Right.
As I was saying before, the crew's comfortable. While the exterior of the capsule is warming up, we are purging the internal cabin and their suits with nitrox or nitrogen oxygen mixture to keep them comfortable and cool.
Mm-hmm. So notice the map's not going to update. It's showing if it was still in orbit, it would be well past the landing site here now.
Safe the propulsion system. Dragon then deploys its drogue parachutes to stabilize and decelerate the vehicle, like you mentioned earlier, Kate.
Now, just before the deployment of those drogue parachutes, seats automatically rotate 26 degrees to keep the crew within acceptable or G limits for entry and landing. Without the drogue chutes, we would have to make the mains 3 times stronger and heavier. And of course, everything about spaceflight is about weight.
Right.
So if
Dragon SpaceX, brace for drogue window.
Here we go. Drone's coming out in a few seconds. We got 1,100 people watching, but only 200 likes. Help me out. We get a couple more likes in before we get Splashdown. That'd be fantastic. It, helps.
Shortly
Just
after
helps
the
out.
drogues are released, we'll see the release of the main parachutes,
Right.
which help to further decelerate the vehicle and allow the vehicle to proceed safely to the splashdown zone in the Atlantic Ocean. The vehicle's velocity at drogue deployment is about 350 miles per hour, and they deploy at about 18,000 feet.
There you go. Drogue should be coming out. May have to update our timeline a bit. I don't see him yet.
From that deploy, it's a pretty quick succession of events, right? We deploy the drogues very quickly after.
There we go.
There we go. We're seeing the drogues deploy now.
Live view from onboard Dragon Endeavour of those drogue parachutes. Capsule's going about 350 miles per hour.
Nominal descent rate for 2 healthy drogues.
Copy, sir.
All right, mains will be coming out here in
What you love to hear from inside the capsule.
Exactly.
Because unfortunately
20
they can't
seconds.
see the parachutes, so to hear that call out that their drogues are healthy, it's great news. So there's a better shot of those
Beautiful
drogue
shot of the
parachutes
drogues
from our
doing their
tracking
work.
camera.
So the mains come out at about 6,500
And
feet.
having that single voice of the core, talking to crew, letting crew know that they're going into a planned LOS, and then coming back. All
There
right,
we go.
there's the 4 mains deploying.
Looks like we got 4 mains. Just need to see him disreef there.
All right, so
We have visual on 4 mains.
So there we heard that confirmation of 4 mains deploying.
And descent rate nominal.
Look at that, all
Gorgeous
4 of them
shot
coming out.
Of those 4 main parachutes.
1,000 meters.
Copy 1,000 meters.
So just the crew reporting that they're only 1,000 meters
Right.
from splashdown.
Right?
There we go, look at that.
Landing in water is simpler, therefore more reliable, and it provides more margin against unlikely parachute issues. We had to learn how to make Dragon
love this view.
waterproof, but once you do, that's it. It's a rinse, review, reuse type process.
I love this view, it looks so clean. Aside from the fact that it's sideways, forget that, but it looks so...
800 meters.
Copy 800.
About 2 minutes to landing or so.
Once again, our Axiom-1 crew is targeting a splashdown in the Atlantic Ocean at our Jacksonville recovery zone. The recovery teams are in the area waiting for that splashdown confirmation.
Scheduled for about 2 minutes from now, according to our clocks.
600 meters.
Copy 600.
We're about a minute and a half
So we
away.
can see that capsule there, as I mentioned before, when we saw it on station and of course during launch, it was pure white.
Right.
It is no longer.
Right.
We now have really a beautiful shot of that toasted marshmallow. That thermal protection, those thermal protection systems,
Right.
keep the crew safe.
Copy 400.
About
Like
1
you
minute
said,
to go.
that's a testament to the design of the vehicle doing exactly what it was designed to do and what it has to
Absolutely.
do it safely. And like you said, rinse, reuse, right? It's all part of reusable spaceflight.
First live view of
There's
our
our
crew
crew.
there from inside the Dragon capsule now that they have re-entered the Earth's atmosphere.
200 meters, bracing for impact.
Copy bracing.
200
I
meters.
think I see that
30
zero-G
seconds.
indicator in the lap of mission specialist Mark Pathy there.
That's right. The crew is looking comfortable in their view that we saw there, ready to splash down just a few moments from now. And right now, I think those parachutes slowed the vehicle down to about, is that
About 15 miles per hour. Yep.
There's the water. Boom. Right on the mic.
As you can tell by the cheers behind us, we can confirm that the Dragon capsule with the AX-1 crew has splashed down. Dragon Endeavour has returned home with the Axiom-1 crew.
Dragon SpaceX, we see splashdown and mains cut.
Looks like they're almost in stable 1, so stable 1.
SpaceX recovery ship and team that you see there on your screen has been waiting for Dragon splashdown, and they're now making their way to that location.
So stable 1.
On behalf of the entire SpaceX team, welcome back to planet Earth. The Axiom-1 mission marks the beginning of a new paradigm for human spaceflight. We hope you enjoyed the extra few days in space, and thanks for choosing to fly with SpaceX.
Sarah, to you, Ken, the team, and MCC, and all the teams that have supported us, all the engineers, technicians, great job at SpaceX. We're very grateful for mission. Thank you.
I have no idea what he said.
All right, well, good calls there from MLA and Core.
And we copy all.
Glad she copied it. I don't know what he said.
Crew excited to be home. All of us on ground happy to have crew back home. Now, the teams have been ready and waiting for about 3 nautical miles away, so it's going to take them about 30 minutes to make their way to get the crew inside Dragon.
So I started to say, what's this?
So there we can see those 2 drogue parachutes.
Oh, is that what that is?
Of
I was
course,
like, what's
first,
that?
and then,
What?
they are
I
let
don't think
go
we've ever
in
seen
order
that.
to release the mains. That's what we see
It's just
making their way back to Earth as well.
That's kind of cool.
System comes back.
Yeah.
Just the drogues coming back by themselves. I don't think we've seen that before.
Sarah, we're in section 3. We think we're in stable 2. We can't see very well out the windows. Disregard me. That's stable 1.
Yeah, so there you go. So I started talking about.
And Dragon, your comm is getting pretty hard to hear. Maybe we can have Larry relay some of that.
Yes, Sarah, we're just confirming we've got fog freezing on the windows that we are in stable 1. Certainly feels like it appears to be.
Copy that, Larry, and can confirm we see stable 1 as well.
By the way, my thanks to you, everybody, all the people who have supported us around the world. Just amazing job and amazing mission.
Appreciate the words, Larry.
So that was our
So
pilot, Larry
yeah,
Fong.
so I started talking about stable 1 versus stable 2. So and actually, it sounded like he said they can't see out the windows because there's some moisture that's freezing on the windows, so they can't see out the windows. And he thought that they were in stable 2, which stable 1 versus stable 2 is basically the orientation of the capsule as it's floating in the water. So stable 2 is upside down, floating in the water. And stable 1 is what we're looking at right now. So they are in stable 1, but there is the possibility that it lands, tips over, and it could stabilize itself upside down. In which case they'd have to flip it over, usually with inflatables.
False Quindar tone.
Yeah.
Yes, I heard a beep. So it sounded like he made MLA made the first call. The commander there said, "I believe we're in. I can't see out the windows, but I believe we're in stable 2."
For recovery personnel to approach, you can expect personnel alongside in about 1 minute.
Perfect. So there's that safe approach call.
Understand, 1 minute.
Yeah, so the reason why the recovery team doesn't just rush there, so Dragon is loaded with hypergolic propellants, monomethyl hydrazine and nitrogen tetroxide, and they are toxic
Right.
when you breathe them.
Right.
So for the safety of the crew, both inside and the recovery team, we wait for Dragon to basically double, triple check that all of those vents and everything are closed off and there's no venting from the Dragon capsule, like from those Draco thrusters themselves. So that's what that communication was in terms of making sure that we got the okay from the capsule,
Right.
and then Mission Control gave the okay to the recovery team. And we can see them there. There will be an individual that actually climbs on top of the capsule, and they are placing the harnessing and
The rigging,
and,
essentially,
yeah,
for hoist?
Exactly.
Okay.
The equipment that's required in order to lift Dragon onto the recovery vessel.
I love this infrared view.
Infrared shot there of that fast
so
boat,
cool.
as we call it, approaching, and they're basically doing another
Check.
sniffing test, essentially, where you can see that the team has PPE on, personal protection equipment, respirators
Yeah, they got a
to
respirator mask
do
there.
a triple check that the vehicle is not releasing any of those toxic hypergolic vapors.
Right.
And see, this is why we got to make sure there's no
As you mentioned
recreational
earlier,
boaters.
this is a very
Right? We want to make sure there's no recreational boaters out here. Like, these are the people that are trained coming up here with PPE, with gas masks on, essentially, the respirators, to check to make sure that all those hypergolic fluids have dissipated, right? He's going around and he's doing his hypergolic check, right? You can see it on the timeline here. That's the hypergolic check that he's doing right now. Spends about 5 minutes putting that probe around the whole capsule, checking to see that those dangerous, toxic hypergolics, the monomethylhydrazine and nitrogen tetroxide, have dissipated, that the valves are closed. And yeah, this is why you don't want recreational boaters to come, just leisurely strolling up to the capsule and cruising on by, waving in the windows. So, yeah, it's, as Framrick said, it's pretty nasty stuff. Vomit bags, please. Yeah, it is pretty common for astronauts during a splashdown to vomit. It's more, the longer you stay in space, the more common it actually is. So these guys were only up there for 2 weeks, which is good. So they, it's possible that maybe they won't get as sick as if they had spent 6 months in space. But it wouldn't be a complete surprise if somebody had an unsettled stomach.
Gotta get to do something new.
Yeah.
So there we can see one of the SpaceX recovery team members.
So somebody asked, why do they use those toxic propellants? So they use them because there is no, they're very reliable, right? So they're hypergolic, so that they, the combustion process is very reliable, right? They don't need to have a spark to ignite them, right? You don't need some sort of spark system or anything like that. And they need them to be very.
Dragon, SpaceX, com check.
I have you loud and clear, sir. How me?
Have you loud and clear as well? Just wanted to verify a comm configuration update. For awareness, it appears we have a couple parachutes that are going to need to be towed out of the way for the recovery ship to approach. So there might be a slight delay to schedule, but we'll get you an update on timing soon.
Copy all.
All right, so on your screen we could see the.
Looks like they got to get some of the parachutes out of the way before the big ship comes in. But anyway, so we were talking about the hypergolic propellants. So those hypergolics, they combust on impact with each other, right? So all you have to do is store them in separate tanks, put them together, and they will combust, right? You don't need a spark, you don't need an ignition source. All you have to do is take those two substances and combine them together. You have ignition. So that's why they use them. It's very, very reliable. You kind of need that when you're in space. You need the reliability, so that's why they use those. Yeah, look at this. We can actually see the parachute recovery.
Good call on course.
We don't usually get to see this in much detail. It's kind of cool.
All's good, but want to give you a heads up.
If I were inside Dragon capsule, I would really appreciate
Yeah,
that
exactly.
information
Exactly.
because, you know, as we see how the ships, or excuse me, how those boats are moving and how the capsule is moving, that movement is a little less dynamic right now. But a couple minutes ago, I was watching the Dragon capsule, and I thought I would probably be feeling a little unwell.
Right.
With that rocking motion. So, you know, just for mental preparation and stabilization, knowing, all right, I might have 2 or 3 extra minutes to get through this.
Kind of
I
acclimate
can
myself
do this.
a little bit. I can hold on. Right.
Dragon SpaceX for internal video.
Go ahead, sir.
If y'all are feeling up to it, request permission to come on board via the display camera view only.
Oh, here we go.
Permission granted.
If you're feeling
Copy
up
that.
to it, if nobody's puking, can we turn the camera on?
Soon we should be getting an internal view of crew inside the Dragon capsule.
For those that have just recently joined us, after 17 days on orbit, 15 of those days on the International Space Station, we can see that the Axiom-1 crew has returned home to planet Earth. Just a few minutes ago, they made their splashdown in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Florida near Jacksonville. And there we can see our recovery teams working the capsule in preparation for lifting it onto the recovery vessel. And there we have a shot of Mission Control Center here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California, where John and I are located.
Yeah. You know what I particularly loved? Oh, there's a great shot from inside the Dragon. So this is just after splashdown now. We've got a shot over the shoulders of Commander MLA and Pilot Larry Connor. So they're waiting inside the Dragon to be hoisted up now.
We can see that they have lifted their visors, so that's the clear part there, which is currently on top of their helmet, but during the dynamic portions of the mission, so for launch, for docking, for undocking,
Right.
and for splashdown, we do ask them to close their visors.
Right.
So now they're able to open it up and as we mentioned before, we have been flushing the interior of the cabin as well as the inside their spacesuits themselves with cool nitrox, nitrogen-oxygen mixture, in order to keep the crew comfortable,
Exactly.
throughout the recovery process.
It's amazing to me all the work that those suits do. Right, we were talking just what feels like a few days ago during launch about how those suits keep them cool. Even just from the drive from launch from the launch pad or from the suit room out to the launch pad and then up through the vehicle, but all the work that they do while on orbit and then coming back down.
It is interesting. So they did bring us on board for views, but she did say via display cam only, which is this over-the-shoulder view. So we can't see their faces. Wonder if that's significant of somebody looking not so
Kate, when you,
not their best at the moment.
shot of mission control during splashdown. For those who weren't able to join us.
Let's see.
Down, I loved hearing the cheers from everybody here. It's something I expected on launch day, but it's moving to hear it on splashdown too. It shows how many people are vested.
Yeah. So at this point, somebody asked how much longer until they get out. So hopefully, normally it would be about another 15 minutes before the ship hoists them on board, and then another 5 minutes or so, 5-10 minutes before they actually open the hatch. So it would be, 25. Normally it'd be about 25 minutes before they get out. 25 minutes from now. 40 minutes on the clock. But it sounds like there might be a slight delay because one of the main parachutes is in the way, and they don't want to run it over with the recovery vessel. So, yeah, it's coming back it's going to take a second before they can get it on board the ship and get them out. It's not like the Apollo days where they used to kind of pull up next to it and open the hatch, and then you had to jump out into a little inflatable boat. They actually bring the capsule. They hoist the capsule up first. They recover the capsule first, and then let the astronauts get out.
Exit the space station to egress and all that good stuff. We use the forward hatch, the hatch that's at the top of the capsule.
Could we soon see the shortest time between return and launch for crews launched on the same kind of rocket? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, Robert. I do know what you mean. Sorry, I follow you now. Shortest time between return and launch for crews launched on the same kind of rocket. So what Robert is referring to is we just saw a splashdown of Axiom-1, and then we also have the Crew 4 mission launching pretty soon as well. What date are we targeting here now for Crew 4? Crew 4 is now for Wednesday. So, yeah, we could definitely see that could be the shortest turnaround. That would be the shortest turnaround time, right? From splashdown to launch again on the same type of vehicle. So yeah, we could see splashdown today and launch of Crew 4 on Wednesday. Another crew going right back up. Which would be kind of crazy.
There's a slight delay, or you can anticipate a slight delay. It's all about safety is what it comes down to. The safety of the crew on board, as well as the safety of the support teams.
I bet they're thinking that times like these, we need a landing on land yet, right? So originally, the Crew Dragon capsule, the plan for the Crew Dragon capsule was to kind of land it on land propulsively using those Super Draco engines, right? The big pods on the side that really, these days, we hope that never get used. But originally, they were going to use those to actually land on land. They were going to have little landing legs at the bottom of the Crew Dragon capsule that would pop out through the heat shield and then touch down on like one of the...
Dragon SpaceX for private medical conference.
And you have procedures for that as well.
Absolutely.
Private medical conference.
Go ahead with the DMC.
For awareness.
Oh, yep, and they shut off that comm, so we're not going to hear that. So we can see the recovery vessel here now, backing its way up to the capsule. It's going to take them a second to kind of hook up to the capsule, and then they'll hoist it up and set it in the Dragon's nest there, which you can see at the bottom of the screen.
All right, so we're hearing that we're about 7 minutes out until we get to lift Dragon Endeavour onto the recovery vessel that you see there on your screen.
It's actually still ahead of schedule.
Arch that individual there standing at the end of the ship, there's an arch above them, and that arch will actually articulate downward, and the teams in the water will attach the harnessing and everything required to hoist or lift Dragon out of the water and into that cradle there. Fun fact, that recovery vessel the fun fact that recovery vessel is named Megan after Megan MacArthur,
Fantastic.
who was our pilot for the Crew 2 mission, our other recovery vessel for Dragon capsules, which, as we mentioned before, there's 7 sites around Florida. We have one recovery vessel here in the Atlantic, that's Megan. The other Dragon recovery vessel located in the Gulf is Shannon, for, of course, Shannon Walker, who was the first woman to fly on a Dragon capsule. So we have Megan and Shannon on board in our hearts, and of course in name here with our recovery vessels.
There we can see Megan making a slower approach now, coming up to Dragon Endeavour.
So yeah,
Once Dragon splashes down.
Just to clarify, we talked about the short turnaround time between crew splashdown and launch on Wednesday. It's not this capsule. So it's the same. It's really just the same turnaround time for the same booster family for a SpaceX Falcon 9 booster launch. It's not the same booster, not the same capsule.
On the whining noise, do you have any insight of when that started?
Whining noise.
I think it started right at splashdown.
Copy that.
I got some sort of whining noise that started at splashdown, huh?
I was about to ask you about it. It's fairly high pitch, quite loud, and it varies in frequency a little. It's hard to tell if it's mechanical fan ventilation of some kind, or maybe some kind of vascular event. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's what that noise is that we hear behind them talking.
So just a little.
Copy, Dragon. We hear it. Likely it is caused by a bilge pump that started at splashdown. We're going to attempt to power that pump off. Let us know if it resolves.
Copy.
All right, so just a little bit of interesting communication there with the crew inside Dragon Endeavour as well as our team here in Mission Control. So when the crew was speaking, that was Commander Michael López-Alegría, the teams here were able to hear background noise. And so obviously the crew inside Dragon Endeavour are able to hear that as well. So that was just a little bit of back and forth describing where the sound may have been coming from or what it could have sounded like, and it sounds like it might be one of the onboard pumps that activates at splashdown.
SpaceX Endeavour, whatever you just did, stopped it.
Okay. Good work
Copy
around.
all. It was the bilge pump.
There we go.
It's what we do. We solve problems.
Exactly. That's the life of a flight controller, right?
Absolutely. So the recovery teams are, as I mentioned before, they're positioned close to the splashdown site, but for a safe distance away. Upon splashdown, the fast boats make their way out quickly to do the initial safing and preparation of the capsule, making sure that the hypergolic propellants are not leaving any vapors around the capsule. And here we can see our recovery vessel, Megan, making its way slowly but surely to the capsule and its splashdown site. Once again, the capsule will be hoisted up onto the deck into that cradle. And in a very sleek and swift motion, that cradle moves forward toward the platform where we will see the crew egress and head into the medical bays. Once again, when that side hatch opens, it's the first time that side hatch has opened since launch day, which was back on April 8th.
First breath of fresh air.
So a couple of things people have asked about, are they going to have trouble getting used to gravity again? It'll probably be a little bit weird at first, but the longer you're in space, the harder it is to readjust to gravity. They were only in space for 17 days, so it's not terrible for them. It won't be too crazy, but yeah, it still probably will be a little bit weird for them. A couple things, or something else somebody asked about, why it takes so long for this ship to get so close. They keep that ship pretty far away, right? So there's kind of an area of uncertainty for splashdown, right? They don't want the ship to get hit by splashdown or get in the way. So there's kind of an area of uncertainty. This ship is not nearly as fast as the fast boats. So they keep it kind of, a ways away to make sure that it can splash down safely. Then they got to make sure that they start bringing it close pretty quickly after splashdown, but then they do have to make sure that the parachutes are out of the way. They're not going to run over the parachutes. Same thing with the drogue chutes. They're trying to make sure that they're not going to run anything over, which would jeopardize the ship. I mean, it's not going to cause it to sink, but, could cause it to get sucked up in their propulsion systems there. They don't want to get tangled in anything. Then they're going to kind of just back up to it slowly here and connect it to the hoist here and pull it up. So there's no big This always kind of a weird thing to talk about with spaceflight, right? Spaceflight is the act of spaceflight is utilitarian. Generally, it's not for entertainment purposes, right? We find it entertaining, but they're not doing it for the entertainment value. They're doing it for the utility value, right? So whether they take them off the capsule in 20 minutes or in 40 minutes doesn't really matter. Like for us sitting here watching, we're like, come on, get to it. But they're not doing it for us. They're gonna take their time. They're gonna do it, make sure that everything's done correctly and the right way. So yeah, could there be methods that would allow them to do it faster? Maybe, but what's the reason for doing it faster? Like, there's no problem with the way they're doing it now, right? So yeah, I guess that's my answer to the speed thing, right? We get impatient. It's only been 25 minutes since splashdown, right? That's not really a long time to wait. Like, you just came back from space, you just landed in the ocean, and it's been 25 minutes.
That hydraulic lift has been lowered.
So, you know what? My favorite person of the recovery crew is this guy that's standing on the capsule. This guy's my favorite because I want this job, right? You got to stand on the capsule, hook up to the hoist, and then this guy is just gonna like yeet himself off into the water. Yep, there it goes. Cannonball! I love that. It's my favorite. I love that part. I want that job.
It's safe to say that, recovery operations, there's a lot of training that goes into it, especially for that position.
Exactly right.
To stay on top of the capsule as it's moving around.
I'm pretty sure he actually did a cannonball too. Did he grab his knees and do a cannonball? Like, I'm pretty sure I saw him, like, legit do a cannonball. 10 from the Canadian judge. That's no matter.
So the Axiom-1 crew is now out of the water, making their way.
Look at that. So we're actually 2 minutes ahead of schedule here.
Megan.
How long after re-entry does the heat shield take to cool back down? I think it actually cools pretty quickly, especially after splashdown. Like, I mean, water can absorb a ton of heat, so yeah, I think it cools down pretty quickly, especially after splashdown. But even coming through the upper atmosphere, I mean, I think the heat shield tiles dissipate that heat pretty quickly. So you can see, looking at the capsule here, remember, all these ports were not open before. So you've got the drogue parachute ports, which are up top, and then the main parachute port, which is down below the side hatch. So that big gaping opening that's like spilling water out onto the deck right now, that's where the main parachutes were stored during the mission. So that hatch pops off, and then the parachutes come up, they kind of ride the tracks. You can see the tracks around the hatch there that have the parachute lines. And they kind of go up. The connection point is right where the hoist is also holding the capsule. That's kind of the connection point for the parachute and the hoist. And those parachute lines ride those tracks up and come out from underneath the hatch there.
Dragon SpaceX, welcome aboard the recovery vessel. Recovery personnel are completing final checks and stand by for translation to the Egress platform.
Copy all, sir. We're standing by.
So we can see the recovery team there, once again doing testing to make sure that any hypergol vapors have dissipated, that the capsule is not releasing any more of those vapors. As I mentioned before, the propellants that Dragon uses on board, it's different than the rocket propellants. The rocket propellants, we use our RP1 and liquid oxygen, and in order for those to burn, we have an ignition source, which is our TTEB. So, it's like when you light a match, right? There's a flame or a spark, and it's different on Dragon. There is no flame on Dragon. The propellants combust instantaneously whenever they come into contact, that monomethylhydrazine and nitrogen tetroxide, and they're super powerful. That's why we use them on board Dragon for those Draco engines. But they are toxic if you inhale them. So we can see the crew there had their ventilators on, and they're just performing those final tests to make sure that the Dragon Dracos are not venting any of those hypergulls. It's pretty amazing to see. It has been amazing to see the pictures while the capsule was, on station. Some of them they don't look real. It's so beautiful, but it is real. And to see, images before splashdown and after splashdown, it's incredible because it just shows, how effective the materials are that we use on that thermal protection system. Right. As I mentioned before, we do replace the TPS for missions. That part itself is not reusable yet. So while on contrast, the interior, the bones, the structure of the capsule, that is reused. Right. So this capsule has now undergone its third recovery, having previously flown on the Demo 2 mission as well as the Crew 2 mission.
Yeah, it really is a testament to the capsule and just the refurbishment process, right? That really allows spaceflight to continue in this day is the reusability aspect. Seeing how clean that vehicle was at launch and still seeing 2 stickers on the inside, now seeing the third one and what it looks like coming back home. It's a testament to that ablative shield because you can see the energy that this is put through on its re-entry. So it'll be excited to see this go for the 4th one.
Yeah, absolutely. As we mentioned before,
at this point, we're getting pretty close to the end here. So, capsule's up, recovered. Now that capsule is going to slide forward, kind of on a track towards the recovery or the egress platform. So the Dragon capsule will. I heard a Gwindar tone. Dragon capsule will slide forward before they open the hatch.
So just for a little bit of orientation while we have this view.
And then they'll come on out, and that'll be it. That'll be wrap up. So 32 minutes ago we splashed down, and they're about to get out here now. We're getting close, getting closer.
The top part is the nose cone. That's the part that if you were,
Dragon SpaceX, capsule translation is imminent.
Capsule translation imminent. That's the
Copy imminent.
Slide forward. There'd be sliding soon.
So just a heads up there from Core that the capsule is.
So they're gonna go on another little bitty ride here.
It's again just that
compared to the ride they just went on the way back. This is nothing.
Too well outside the window. So just every step of the way, the Core's responsibility is to give the crew
so we're
to expect next. Yeah. So we heard the call out. Brace for.
Drogues, there it goes. It's sliding. Capsule translation just means it's moving forward. It's riding the tracks up to the egress platform. There it comes. You can still see that seawater splashing around.
Yep, and of course while crew, they're monitoring the timeline.
Interesting that he's like spraying it with a hose. I haven't seen them do that before.
Is important.
That is interesting. I presume that's for some residuals or something, like from the fuel or something. That might be. I don't know. I haven't seen them use that hose before. I'm not sure what that's for. I bet Nomadic can tell us. I don't know what the hose is for.
I know will be moved.
He's not going to get the burn marks off with the water. Yeah, I don't think they're washing it. Not yet. I don't think that's what the hose is for. I mean, they're still wearing the respirators, so it seems like there's obviously still some concern about the hypergolics. They want to make sure it's safe. The astronauts are safe on the inside, right? They got their own environmental controls on the inside, but the recovery crew, they want to make sure it's safe for them.
Waiting for those ground teams to make ingress.
So yeah, almost ready to open that hatch here. We should be, I don't know, maybe about 5 minutes away from opening the hatch. Maybe sooner. They are, you know, maybe like 2 minutes ahead of schedule. So they could be opening that soon. Looks like they're hooking up to pressurization system. They're trying to maybe try to equalize the. Oh no, this looks like a hypergolic sensor. I thought they were hooking up to the thing there. So this looks like they're still doing those hypergolic tests. Those little sniffers. Trying to check and make sure it's safe to get out before they open that hatch up. There you go. Nomadic says they likely had readings on the gas meters, and a spray down with salt water, the seawater, could help decontaminate. That's kind of what I was thinking, is they were spraying it down for some sort of residual hypergolics they were detecting. It looks like they're taking their respirators off now, so they're feeling confident that they don't have any gas readings. And that should be good news for opening the hatch.
As we mentioned before, the interior for Crew Dragon, you know, that air pressure has to be equated to the external pressure, so that, you know, that's what's going on. You can see now the crews have taken off their PPE.
Dragon SpaceX at 36 minutes and 25 seconds after splashdown. We are go for side hatch opening. Stand by for hatch opening and egress.
Excellent.
We are watching the clock.
All right, now they're ready to egress.
They're more than eager for that first breath of fresh air about to happen.
Sounds like pressure's equalized, and now they're ready to open the hatch. There it goes. Hatch open.
Looks like that side hatch is open.
Excellent.
3 minutes ahead of my schedule.
Flight surgeon stepping in there to do a quick check with the crew.
And put a little protective border around the hatch opening there, so nobody hurts themselves or the capsule, but mostly themselves, I think.
That white piece of framing there is a fixture that we'll put inside the. All right, we can see the recovery crews there inside the Dragon. Yes, we'll put that piece of fixturing around the side hatch just to protect it while the crews are, you know, getting out of the capsule now.
Does the temperature raise at all during re-entry? Yes, the cabin temperature
recovery crew there
does raise.
A quick reminder
during the re-entry, but they do also have environmental controls. They got environmental controls in the capsule, in their suit, so they still stay relatively cool. But without those things, it would definitely warm up inside the capsule, for sure.
The team practices getting in and getting out of
and I think even with those things, it does warm up a little bit still. But the environmental controls keep it from getting ridiculous, and you know they have their suits on, which are environmentally controlled as well, so they can keep cool during that whole process.
This view here, we have the commander MLA on the left-hand side of your screen, and pilot Larry.
So we're about, like I said, we're about 3 minutes now ahead of my schedule. So my schedule hasn't even gotten to hatch opening yet. We still have 1 minute to hatch opening according to my schedule. And then crew egress was about 5 minutes after that. So we may see crew egress at about the 42-minute mark, maybe. If they're truly 3 minutes ahead of my schedule. I mean, luckily the egress part, I mean, it could be luckily or unluckily, but they're not on a strict timeline for this, which means they can come out early if they're ready, but also means they could come out late if they got stuff to do. There we go. Now we're going to see the crew.
Camera making way to see our crew for the first time there.
There they are.
All waving, all in good spirits.
See a bunch of thumbs up.
Welcome home, AX1.
Hi, guys. Everybody's good to go.
Lots of smiles on board.
It's always good to see.
Nomadic says currently at the landing zone, it's 80 degrees Fahrenheit, 27 Celsius. Humidity is 60%. Winds from the east at 9 miles per hour and mostly clear. Sounds like a beautiful day.
So on the far left there, mission specialist Mark Pathy. Next to him we had pilot Larry Connor. Then to the right, MLA, and on the far right, Eytan Stibbe. For Mark, Larry, and Eytan, it was their first trip to space. MLA had been to space previously, but as I mentioned before, this was the first time that he returned to Earth via Splashdown, so new experience for him.
Returning home on an Endeavor, but splashing down this time instead of runway landing, right?
That's right. I believe you said earlier that he flew on Space Shuttle Endeavor.
Yeah.
Was it STS-113?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Which, awesomely enough, is parked here in LA. And we got to go see it the other day.
It sure is.
So, about 3 minutes ahead of schedule. They could be coming out any second here now. 3 minutes ahead of
the
schedule.
recovery teams are just preparing the side hatch there for the crew's egress.
That's that white frame you mentioned earlier?
Absolutely. So just a fixture there to help protect that side hatch during this process. As we said before, this capsule has been reused. We plan to reuse it in the future. So not only to protect the crew themselves, but also the hardware.
Yeah. I imagine that's the sealing mechanism, so you want to protect that as you're walking over it and making sure it stays pristine.
All right, so that was the footrest that we saw coming out. These detach from the seats in order to allow the crew to get out of their seats a little easier. Also helps, just increase the usable volume inside Dragon. John, you and I were in the training capsule. It's about 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
And it's definitely makes a difference in terms of small things like that, which seem like a small or a thin item that doesn't really take up space, but in reality, in terms of the volume that it occupies and where in that volume it is placed, it does make a difference in terms of mobility. And when you're on orbit in microgravity, it's a lot easier to get around than when you're stuck here on Earth with that pesky gravity. Yeah.
Pesky gravity. Right, and I don't know if it's the same for egress, but during launch we noticed that there was a very particular way in which crew and ground teams had to ingress the vehicle because of those volumetric constraints. But allowing those footrests to come out does free up space a little easier. It's been, they've spent a number of days in orbit, haven't felt the effects of gravity in a while. So making it as easy as possible to egress the vehicle is really important, not only for their comfort, but also for everybody's safety.
It looks like pilot Larry Connor might be the first one to exit the vehicle.
See on the left-hand shot, the right side of that screen.
Well, it looks like they're going to be right on time for a crew egress. NASA does not permit reflight of Dragon capsules for human transportation. Was an exception made for Axiom, or has NASA changed their policy on this?
Dragon
NASA changed the policy, actually. So they their contract originally said that NASA was not going to use reused capsules, but they have changed that. They changed that quite a while ago, actually, because they're now allowing reused capsules. So that is no longer a
The dynamic portions
that is no longer a thing for originally it was gonna Boeing was gonna be allowed to reuse the capsule, but not SpaceX. But yeah, now they have changed that, so that's no longer a thing.
So we can see there Larry Connor starting to make his way out of his seat and onto the deck there on our recovery ship Megan.
Yep, here he comes, coming out. So pretty much right on time, 45-minute mark. That was the predicted time they were going to egress, and he's up out of his seat, holding on for a minute, getting his bearings. See it in the left picture there.
We can see Larry making his egress
And he's
from
coming out.
the Dragon Endeavor. You can hear the cheers in the background for it.
See how wobbly he is. He looks all right. He's being assisted a little bit. Remember, he was in zero G for a
those are
while.
his first steps back on planet Earth after spending 17 days on orbit. If it were me, I imagine I'd probably feel a little shaky, right?
Yeah.
Because they don't have gravity up there. They did take exercise equipment to keep their muscles working while they're up there, but still,
Hey,
it's
sir, we're going off comm. Thanks for everything. We'll see you on deck.
Sounds good. Talk to you later.
All right, there's the end of our communication.
Our last call there from MLA to say that they're no longer going to be utilizing the Dragon communication systems. They'll just talk with everybody on the deck.
Mission Specialist Mark Pathy.
So there we saw Mission Specialist Mark Pathy. He was seated on the far left, or at the left window seat. All right, removing the footrests on the other two seats.
Like you said,
I
Kate.
have a feeling Eytan will be next.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
it looks like
gonna be
it's
MLA.
MLA.
Yeah, that's certainly part of the reacclimation process is remembering those muscles that help keep you stabilized in a 1G environment. You know, you haven't used them in a few days, so it's certainly time spent after coming back home.
Oh, just
Get used
kidding.
to that.
All right, so
moved them
MLA
over.
did a little
MLA did a seat
change of
change.
seats there, so Eytan will be the next one to come out.
A little seat switcheroo there.
It's very, that feels very on par for him. We've heard that MLA really was an exemplary commander for this crew, and he basically just said, "No, Eytan goes
a great
first.
point.
I'll be last."
Yeah.
One of my favorite phrases is "leaders eat last." Make sure
I like
everybody
that.
else goes first,
Yeah.
and it's just great to see that.
Yeah.
There you go. Eytan Stibbe, the other mission specialist.
Eytan making his egress and first stance back on ground in 17 days.
Yeah, it's quite the readjustment coming back down to Earth and going from, regardless of how long you're up there,
Yeah.
obviously it's, the longer you are, the more difficult the transition can be.
Yeah.
But, even after the 17 days that they were in microgravity, that's still a pretty significant
is.
change on the body.
Yeah, it certainly is.
All right, one more.
So it's
And that's a
pretty
wrap.
amazing to see them, just take those steps
Yeah.
and begin that reacclimation process.
Exactly.
Now, once they are, so for the 3 crew members that we saw exit or egress the vehicle already, they walk off and they are immediately escorted into one of the medical bays that's on board. So the recovery vessels are fully equipped with medical bays to assist with, any ailments or illness that the crew might be feeling at that time. It seems like everybody was in really good spirits
Yeah.
and everybody was feeling quite well. But that capability is on board the Dragon capsule, and so basically the crews just go in and get checked out
Yeah.
by the flight surgeon and get those thumbs up.
Yeah, just that capability to have that immediate assessment is really important. Even if you are feeling perfectly fine, you're taking your great steps, it's all part of the ground-based operations that ensure that you come home safely and you
There we
get
go.
out safely.
50 minutes on the
There we
dot.
saw MLA slide down the ramp and now standing. Welcome home, Commander MLA.
With that, all 4 crew members of AX-1 are now safely out of the Crew Dragon Endeavour.
That's it.
So you can see their mission control here behind us at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. Checking in now that pretty much all the dynamic activities of recovery have concluded.
Right.
All right. Well, they're probably going to wrap up here now.
At this point, we'll just be waiting on crew to make sure that, they have those good checks that you were talking about. Making sure that all the medical checks coming out of the vehicle, they're happy, healthy, feeling good.
Yeah.
All right, well,
I
as the
think
crews are now safely aboard the recovery vessel and have
back to
completed
that.
their journey to the ISS and back, marking this moment is Axiom's Chief Business Officer, Amir Blackman.
If they have music, I'm going to have to stop it.
Thank you, John,
Oh, nope. All right,
Kate,
good.
and the Axiom and SpaceX media teams. Thank you for that wonderful coverage so we could all share in this. The AX-1 mission is one of the more visible milestones of our journey to ensure that space travel is opened up to more and more of the brightest minds and eager explorers from around the world who want to make our home planet a better place. And we believe this mission, represented by the US, Canada, Spain, and Israel, advances that vision of a unified humanity reaching for the stars. Despite the strife going on the ground, the ISS crew and our astronauts continued working together as a beacon of international cooperation. In the years preceding this mission, we at Axiom Space set out to develop the procedures, foster the agreements, and build the operations and support teams needed to expand what had historically been negotiated only between governments. And with every step, we've created new precedents. We set the bar very high for ourselves, and we asked a lot of this crew. And here we are at the conclusion of an incredible mission, and I must say the teams exceeded every expectation. We could not be more proud of what has just been accomplished by Commander Michael López-Alegría, Larry Connor, Eytan Stibbe, and Mark Pathy, as well as the hundreds of team members who have played a part in the success of AX-1. Over the course of this mission, we've succeeded in inspiring those who seek to pursue a place among the stars. Over 400 interns applied for the 23 openings at Axiom. 5 additional countries made the decision to fly their astronauts with us, and every day we're approached by new innovators wanting to take advantage of microgravity. To the teams at NASA and SpaceX, to each crew member's own teams in Ohio, Canada, Spain, and Israel, to the teams at the Ramon Foundation and Rokia Mission, and to the principal investigators around the world who have trusted us with facilitating your studies, and to the Axiom family who have worked tirelessly these last few weeks and months, thank you. On behalf of Axiom Space, to the crew of AX-1, Mark, Eytan, Larry, Mike, well done, and welcome home. For our Hebrew-speaking audience, משימת AX-1 היא אחת מאבני הדרך החשובות במאמצינו לפתיחת החלל להמוני היזמים והחוקרים הנלהבים מכל רחבי העולם, אלה ששואפים לנצל את התנאים המיוחדים, כמו חוסר הכבדה בתחנת החלל, לפיתוח טכנולוגיות ששומרות על עולמנו ומשפרות את איכות החיים על כדור הארץ. ואנחנו מאמינים שהמשימה שכעת הסתיימה בהצלחה מרבית, שבה מיוצגת ארצות הברית, קנדה, ספרד וישראל, מקדמת את החזון של איחוד המין האנושי בהרחבת פעילותנו בחלל. אכן, למרות המאבקים בין מדינות על הקרקע, צוותי האסטרונאוטים הבינלאומיים המשיכו את עבודתם המשותפת כדוגמה וסמל לאפשרויות של שיתוף פעולה לכל האנושות. בשנים שקדמו למשלחת הזאת, אנחנו באקסיום ספייס פעלנו ליצירת מהלכים, הסכמים והקמת צוותים הדרושים ליישום פעילות פרטית בחלל, פעילויות שלאורך ההיסטוריה נעשו על ידי ממשלות וסוכנויות חלל. מההתחלה ועם כל צעד אקסיום ספייס יצרה תפיסות חדשות ופעילויות ללא תקדים. הצבנו לעצמנו מטרות מאתגרות וביקשנו הרבה מהצוות האסטרונאוטים הראשון שלנו, והנה אנחנו נמצאים בסיום מוצלח ואפשר בקלות לומר שהצוות עלה על כל הציפיות. אנחנו מלאי גאווה עצומה נוכח ההישגים שאליהם הגיעו מפקד מיכאל לופז-אלגריה, לארי קונור, איתן סטיבה, מרק פתי, ואיתם כל מאות אנשי הצוותים התומכים שתרמו להצלחת משימת AX1. במשך פיתוח המשימה וביצוע הצלחנו לעורר השראה בין רבים שגם הם רוצים למצוא את מקומם בין הכוכבים. לדוגמה, Axiom Space קיבלה מעל 400 פניות עבור כיתה של 23 סטאז'רים. 5 מדינות החליטו לשלוח אסטרונאוטים מטעמם דרך אקסיום לחלל, ובכל יום אנחנו מקבלים פניות מאנשי מדע ויזמים שרוצים לנצל את תנאי החלל. וכאן המקום להודות בהתלהבות לצוותים של נאסא, SpaceX, לכל אנשי התמיכה של צוות AX1 הנמצאים באוהיו, קנדה, ספרד וישראל, לחוקרים בארצות רבות שסמכו עלינו ועל יכולתנו ליישם את הפרויקטים שלכם בחלל, ולמשפחת אקסיום הנרחבת, כולל במיוחד את צוות קרן רמון ומסיבת רקיע שעבדו במסירות ימים ולילות בחודשים האחרונים. מטעם אקסיום ספייס, לצוות של AX1, מרק, איתן, לארי ו-LA, כל הכבוד והגאווה, וברוכים השבים הביתה לכדור הארץ. Sean, back to you.
Amir, thank you, and very well said. Axiom-1 is a huge moment in the story of human spaceflight, and one that we will certainly be celebrating for a while. But yet, it's a huge learning opportunity for us as well. Our long-term vision is to expand what is possible. We want to build on moments like these to help us better develop and fly Axiom Station, a new destination in space that many more will be able to visit in the future.
All right. Well, I don't want to be disrespectful and cut them off, but I mean, I think the majority of our mission here is over, so I don't think there's much activity that we're gonna see left here. So I think this is even though they're still going, I'm assuming they're gonna end here very soon. But even though they're still going, I'll let you continue on to this over on the SpaceX channel if you want to watch the rest of their coverage here. I think they're pretty much wrapping up, so I think I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to wrap up, and because I got to go back to work. I got some stuff that I got to do. So I think I'm going to head out and end it here. Everybody wants to replay the cannonball. I think I'm going to skip the replay on the cannonball, but maybe I might go watch that again myself. We got to make like a compilation of cannonballs from the jump guy, jump master. Because I love it. That's my favorite part. I want that job. All right, but I think I'm gonna end it right here. I think we covered all that we got to cover. So I'm not sure yet if I'm gonna cover the Crew 4 launch on Wednesday. It's at kind of a awkward hour for me, so we'll see. I'm kind of up in the air on that, but keep an eye out. Maybe we'll cover some more here. So, all right. Well, that's where I'm gonna wrap it up here. Hopefully, you guys had an enjoyable day. We'll see you all on the next broadcast, and thanks for hanging out and joining me here for today. All right, my name's Tori. This is Overlook Horizon. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, everybody. See ya.
Woo.